Many of us find ourselves in destructive, repetitive situations, also called patterns. And do you know why this happens? Do you know what it is in them that has such a hold on you? Because if you feel stuck in them, it's because there is a belief, there is a story around them that looks very real to you from the outside. But it isn't real at all. And yet that story has cast such a spell on you. And it does that because it can only live through you. And as you keep going back to it over and over again, as you talk about it over and over again, you feed it. You're giving it your attention, you're giving it your energy, you're giving it your words, your time. And that is how that story, that belief stays alive. So if you are tired of this, you need to remember that the more you attune to your inner world, the more your outer world will change shape. And the moment you recognize that that belief, that story is not real, by going inside of you, you will realize that that story, that belief is an illusion. And when you realize that, it will disappear and it will lose the grip and the power it has on you. In today's video, I want to show you how to achieve this. I want to show you the power of a story, of a belief, of a wound, and how when you face it, it will disappear. And not only does it disappear, but the experience itself, the journey itself, will lead you to deeper knowledge and to finding the solutions that you're seeking for. So here's the story. Some time ago, I was in a foreign country. I had been staying there for over 2 months. And so at that point, I had only 10 days before my visa was to expire. So I needed to leave because if I didn't leave, well, I would get into trouble with the authorities, right? However, at that point, I had no idea where to go next. I felt all alone. I had no direction. And I have to add that at that moment, many changes had happened in my life. So I was in this place where the old ways were dying out, but I still wasn't clear about the new way. I wasn't clear about the path I was to take. So I knew what I did not want, but the wanted was not yet visible to me. So I was very wobbly. And maybe you are in the same situation now, where you have a choice to make and yet you don't know where to go. The old options feel stale and repulsive, yet the path in front of you seems non-existent. So the only way forth seems to go to take you back. And this is confusing to you. And maybe you feel doomed to have to accept a reality that you don't want to be in. If you are in this type of situation, the next part of the story may give you some clarity. So when I realized that I had only 10 days left and nowhere to go, I became paralyzed by fear. Everything became very difficult. The easiest task, which was that of packing my bags, became insurmountable to me. I could not attempt to do anything. Have you ever been in a situation like this? This is usually where most of you will not listen to your inner world. I should say, this is where most of us don't listen to ourselves. We think that what is holding us back is bad. So we will chastise ourselves and we will bulldoze ourselves into doing what we think should be done, even though we don't want to do that. And when we go that route, it's one of the most violent actions we can take against ourselves. Because in that moment, what you're saying to yourself is this: I don't trust you. The information that you're giving me is worth nothing to me. I know I have to manage you out of this useless state because you're not to be relied upon. That's what you're telling to yourself. So there's a distrust that is there. There is a war that happens inside of you. And this is obviously, that distrust, the story that, you can't trust yourself, is a story that most people have about themselves. Most of us have this story, right? And it's a story that we feed on a daily basis. So what did I do in that situation? In that moment, after some bulldozing of my own and getting nowhere, I surrendered to what was in the moment. And the truth was that I was paralyzed by fear. And that was exactly where I needed to be. Why? Because that's what was in the moment. That was what was being given to me in the moment. And so I decided to receive it. And this is the first level of trust. Do you trust that what is in the moment is exactly what you need to get to where you want? Do you trust that you will be taken care of no matter what? And your sole responsibility in that moment is to lean into it. And so in that moment, I said yes to the fear. And the fear started communicating with me in its own specific way, which means this. It started talking to me through specific images, body sensations, thoughts, memories. And in that moment, the way this fear showed up for me was through the images of Border Patrol agents. So I saw these very tall agents, and they looked like giants, and they were looming over me. They seemed harsh, and they were scowling at me from up above. They were very threatening, and I felt all small, helpless, and at their mercy. If you look at it from the outer level, or if you look at it rationally, literally, then the fear was right. I mean, I could have had issues with these agents if I didn't leave the country. So, the fear makes sense. And maybe you are going through the same pattern. The details may be a little bit different. But the first thing you will do is that you will take what you see literally. And you will try to figure it out. You'll try to change the situation to your advantage. And by doing that, you will start losing power. You will feel as if you are going against an overpowering force, and you will suffer. And that will be confusing. But why do you think this is happening? This is happening because you're going at it the wrong way. And the feeling of opposition and the draining of energy, that's information onto itself. It's trying to steer you out of this way onto another one. And maybe the other way is to trust the moment and connect with your inner world. Start looking at what is in front of you, not literally, but symbolically, and become aware of the story that is clouding your judgments. So let's go back to my story. I realized that as I saw these agents' faces, the scowling faces in my mind's eye, I became aware of the beliefs that had been echoing in the background throughout my life. And these were the beliefs. Almaz, you're not to be trusted. You will mess it up. And obviously, you will go over the 10 days. You need to be high alert at all times because you can't trust yourself. You need to remember over and over again that you can't be trusted. You will slip. And so on and so forth. Does this sound familiar to you? In that moment, what was being shown to me was that in my life, if I had been very indecisive, it was because all of these beliefs that I held in myself were paralyzing me in my day-to-day life. And it was time to let them go if I wanted to move on to my next path. Because the wobbly me was not going to make it there. So those beliefs, those destructive beliefs needed to go. If you want to change anything in your life, you need to become completely and utterly aware of what it is that you want to change. You need to become intimate with every part of it. And you do that by attuning to your inner world and letting the unwanted, which usually shows up in the form of a trigger, unfold in front of you. In that moment, you become the observer of it. You become the one that holds space for that part of you that, in my case, for example, was judging me. The one that is causing you stress. You hold space for it and you become intimate with it. You hold it like a lover. And as you do that, it shifts automatically. So I went inside and found these menacing border agents looming over me. I felt powerless in that instance. They had the power, right? I was so untrustworthy and I was going to botch it. And I just believed in that. That was the story that I held about myself. I also realized that in that image of these agents, they were big, but I was small. And that was my clue. As I said before, become aware of all the details of your trigger, because there's nothing random about it. So before I go ahead with the story, let me tell you about one of the biggest patterns you'll go through in your life. And that's the child pattern, the child archetype. When you are in this pattern, you will energetically feel small, just like a little child. And you will find yourself interacting with another archetype, which is the parent, the one who holds authority. And in this case, it will be the one who holds authority over you. And the parent, the authority, will loom large over you because you see them as bigger than you, because you have given them all the power. And this is the typical way the child archetype will show up in your life. So now, why would this archetype show up in your life? What is its aim? This archetype is about responsibility. It's the archetype, the energy that will take you to becoming responsible for every single choice in your life, which automatically will make you a very conscious person, right? The shadow However, the shadow, the unconscious child, can't hold responsibility in their hands because the child is too small for that. So every choice a child makes will be based on the fear of being punished. Let me ask you a few questions so that you understand what I mean. When you stop at the red light, why do you do it? Is it because it just comes very naturally to you to do that, you want to do that? Or is it out of fear of being punished, fined? Or maybe it's out of a fear that the traffic warden will stop you and chastise you like a child. Or maybe you're afraid there's going to be an accident and it's going to be your fault and you'll be punished for that. Another question. When you pay your taxes, why do you do it? Do you do it because you fear the punishment that will ensue if you don't? Do you realize that many of the choices that we are making on a personal and collective level stem from fear and not out of pure willingness? And this has consequences. Let me give you an example of a consequence. We live in societies where we have a judge, which can be seen as symbolically as the authority, the parent. We have judges that order fathers to pay alimony for their kids. This is a typical example of the child-parent archetype at play. So the judge is the parent, and the father that needs to pay alimony is the child. And it's being told, and the father is being told what to do because he doesn't know what to do. I mean, that's what it entails, right? I'm just describing the situation. And the consequences that this is creating is that there is a lot of resentment that is brewing in certain men because they don't have the freedom to make their own choice. And then when it comes to the child that receives the alimony, this child will always live in doubt. This child will never know whether their father wanted to take care of them financially or not. And I don't think I need to add the level of wounding that will create. So the question is, how many of your choices are based on how to avoid punishment? Every moment you're choosing, and every choice takes you to the next one, to the next one, and the next one. If the first one is tainted by fear, that is exactly what is going to perpetuate. It will keep you very restricted, limited, and that's how you will impact your life and the people around you. But what if I told you that the fear, yes, it will feel real at first. The threat will feel very tangible. It is scary. I know. And if you focus on it by trying to solve it on the outer level, you are making the fear that much more solid. You are making it that much more real in your life. So maybe it's time not to go this way. Maybe you should try another path. So let me go back to my story. So in that moment, that's what I did. Instead of trying to pack my bags and then try to, talk to people and complain and tell them where I'm at and get even more confused and feed into the fear, I went into myself. I turned towards these menacing border agents that were looming over me. And the moment I did that, I felt powerless. They had the power. That fear felt real. I was untrustworthy. I was going to botch it. Those beliefs felt real. That was the story I had held about myself forever. But I went on, and I started boldly facing those fears, those beliefs, those images. And how did I do that? I did that by connecting with my body and observing what was happening in it. So I grounded myself in my body and then consciously went toward the trigger. So I saw the images of the agents, and suddenly I felt a tightening in my chest. The next thing I did is I stayed with that tight chest for as long as it needed me to be. I observed it. How small was it? How big? What's its texture? The color? I told it, I'm here with you. I'm not letting you go. Then the next thing is I started hearing all those destructive judgments about myself. You can't be trusted. You'll botch it. Who do you think you are? You have to work hard and harsh to get one little crumb because you're not worthy. And again, I didn't run away from it. I didn't start changing it. Because I know now that if I do that, I'll feed it. I'll feed those judgments. So again, I went back to my body. I fell into it and realized that as the thoughts came up, I would feel a constriction in my stomach. So I did the same exercise and I stayed with that part for as long as it needed me to be there. I did this exercise over and over again until I felt relief, until the assault of the triggers started slowly waning away. So at this moment, I had gone from small child to the one that could hold all those images, all those fears, all those doubts, all those judgments. I became responsible for them. And not only, I realized that it was never about the border agents. Don't take it literally. It was never about them. It's impersonal. They were just echoing back to me the beliefs that I had inside of me. Beliefs that were keeping me small and limited. And it was time to let them go. These beliefs, these stories could not overpower me anymore. And as I observed them, they slowly transformed into peace, wisdom, and power. I remember that at some point I felt more in flow. I was flowing through life because I had shed so many structures and limitations. And that's when I knew that my work was over. And in that moment, suddenly, I knew where to go. I knew where my next destination was. The name of the country popped into my mind. And when it did, it felt loving, it felt good. There was a relief that came with it. The thing is that the country that popped into my mind was one where I had never been before. I did not speak the language, and I knew no one there. But at this point, after all this work, I just knew I could trust my intuition. I knew I could trust the present moment. And just as a side note, when your intuition talks to you, it will feel crazy because your intuition will stretch you. It will take you on to the unknown path. And that's why it will feel crazy. But once you step onto that path, then everything will feel normal. So just that. And so I said okay to my intuition. And I proceeded to buying a ticket to the country in question. I packed my bags. And it became very easy to do that at this point. I even wanted to book a hotel, but for some unknown reason, I forgot to do that. And when the day came, I went to the airport. So at this point, I just want you to know that I still didn't know where I was going, and I still knew no one in that country. I just knew which country to go to. But that was all. But that is the thing. Remember that the moment you face your fears, you go from being a small, powerless creature that is constantly limited by life, by people, by the rules, by this and that, to someone who feels, who knows freedom. Someone who knows that they have the right to be where they are. Someone who knows that they have the right to be who they are. Someone who knows that they cannot not be taken care of. And that is exactly how the outer world will show up in that moment. Your trust in the moment will open you to deep insights and incredible perspectives and possibilities. And the universe will knock itself out, taking care of you. In my case, what happened was that as I was waiting in the airport for the plane, a friend of mine called for a reason that is not related with the story. And as I told her where I was going, she became excited for me. And she told me that she had friends in the country I was going to, and that not only could they host me for some time, but that they could also acquaint me with the country, its laws, its people, everything. And that is exactly what happened. Crazy, isn't it? So to wrap it up, I want you to remember that the more you attune to your inner world, the more your outer world will change shape. The moment you face your fear, you will recognize it as an illusion, and it will disappear. It will lose its grip and its power on you.